the coaching of listening, just simply listening, I find brilliant and profound. And could you speak more to that?
Yeah, yeah. I believe that most people that I know, most leaders, most teachers, counselors, coaches, consultants, parents, most everybody that I know that wants to contribute, the way they figure out how to do it is by speaking. They contribute by saying something. Parents do it. We do it to our friends. If our friend's in trouble, we think, what can I say so that my friend is assisted? What can I say as a coach so that my client blossoms? And I think we're barking up the wrong tree. Because I think that when you listen accurately and with some reflection, and when you listen for the future, not the past, and when you listen for what people want, not what they fear, so there's a style of listening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just listening, it's a kind of listening. But it's listening in a partnership without advice. And I learned it from a lot of people, but primarily from my father. Because when I was growing up, when I'd go to my dad for advice, he'd say, or a question, he'd always look at me and say, that's a really good question, or that's a really good problem to have. I was like, good problem to have? What? He said, yeah, that's a really good problem to have. Let's research it. That's what he'd always say. I said, well, Dad, just give me the answer. You know the answer, I'll bet. Just tell me what to do. He says, well, I have no idea, really. Let's research it. And then he'd start to ask just a couple of simple questions, like, what do you see? What do you want? And he'd listen. And he let me do just outrageous things. I remember one time I came home, I was 15 years old, and I said to my dad, you know, we live in a tourist town. I grew up in Deadwood, South Dakota. You ever heard of Deadwood, South Dakota? It's a tourist town in the Black Hills of Dakota. They made an HBO special about it. It's an old west town. I mean, it was a wild place to grow up. Anyway, it was flooded with tourists every year. So I went to my dad, and I was 15, and I said, Dad, we should have an ice cream parlor here. You got all these tourists in town, and there's nobody serving them ice cream. And don't you think that, you know, what do you think? And he says, well, that's a good idea. Let's research it. But he never meant let's. He always meant you research it. So he sent me out to research it. And by the time I was 17, I had an ice cream parlor. I had 7 employees. I'd borrowed money from the bank, which you can't do at 17, but my dad signed for it. And I totally ran it. I ordered all the material. I did the payroll. I mean, I just did everything because I didn't know I couldn't. And mostly it was from listening. So that's what I'm attempting to teach even here. I mean, I'm not teaching here coaching. I'm giving a little tiny instruction in coaching. But our coaching curriculum is about how to spend 80% of your time listening very powerfully, and then 20% of your time speaking in a way that helps people think, but not giving them advice.
Thank you.
Yeah.